An interpretation of Jane Eyre, From Orphan to the Light of Self. A captivating opening, Jane Eyre's timeless question, why does a slim novel continue to ignite the hearts of countless readers across the centuries? Jane Eyre, the classic work published by Charlotte Brontë under the pseudonym Bell, is not merely an orphan's epic journey of growth but a mirror reflecting humanity, love, and freedom. Through Jane Eyre's resilience and sincerity, it poses a profound question. In a world filled with oppression and prejudice, how can one hold fast to their true self and pursue love and dignity with equality? Let us step into Victorian England to explore the deep allure of this work and uncover the secret of how Jane transforms from a humble orphan into a beacon of selfhood. Life and creation. Charlotte's soul-reflected Charlotte Brontë was born in 1816 in Haworth, Yorkshire, England, into a clergyman's family, where hardship and tragedy shaped her resilient character. Her mother died when Charlotte was 5, leaving 6 children to grow up in a modest parsonage. Her father, Patrick Brontë, though a clergyman, struggled to support the family with his meager income, resulting in a childhood marked by loneliness and restraint. Charlotte, along with her sisters Emily and Anne and brother Branwell, created imaginary worlds called Glasstown and Angria, weaving stories and poems to escape the constraints of reality. These early writings were not only the seeds of her literary talent but also laid the autobiographical foundation for Jane Eyre. She once wrote, "We build a world of our own with pen and ink, free from poverty and death." This reveals not only her imagination, but also her yearning for freedom. Charlotte's path was fraught with challenges. In 1824, she and her sisters Maria and Elizabeth were sent to the clergy daughters' school, where poor conditions led to the early deaths of Maria and Elizabeth from tuberculosis. This experience directly inspired the depiction of Lowood School in Jane Eyre, with Charlotte channeling her pain and anger into Jane's childhood. As an adult, she worked as a governess, experiencing the dual oppression of class and gender. In 1842, she and Emily traveled to Brussels to study French, hoping education would change their fate. But there, Charlotte fell in love with her married teacher, Constantin H. Gier, an unrequited love that deepened her understanding of women's powerlessness in romance. These experiences fueled Jane's relentless pursuit of dignity and independence in Jane Eyre. Charlotte's writing journey was far from smooth. She first tried poetry, publishing a collection with Emily and Anne under the pseudonyms Currer, Ellis, and Acton Bell, but it sold only 2 copies and received little attention. This failure prompted her to turn to novel writing to express her inner world in a form more accessible to readers. The manuscript of Jane Eyre was completed in the cramped study of the Haworth parsonage, where Charlotte wrote late into the night by faint candlelight, pouring her emotions into Jane's fate. She once told her sister, "Jane is a part of me. She carries my anger and hope." This autobiographical approach imbued Jane Eyre with raw emotion, allowing readers to feel Charlotte's heartbeat. Charlotte's work was also influenced by contemporary literature. She admired Jane Austen's nuanced psychological portrayals but found Austen's female characters too compliant with societal norms, lacking defiance. Jane Eyre thus became a response to Austen's Sense and Sensibility, with Jane's forthrightness and passion breaking the mold of the submissive female archetype. In a letter, Charlotte expressed her desire to show readers the extraordinary soul of an ordinary woman through Jane's story. This vision reflects not only her literary ambition, but also her profound reflections on women's destinies. Published in 1847 under the pseudonym Bell, Jane Eyre caused an immediate sensation. In Victorian England, where male dominance and class hierarchy prevailed, women were expected to be docile angels in the house. Charlotte challenged this by centering a plain, even, unremarkable woman, defying societal norms. Critic George Henry Lewes praised the novel, saying, "This book reveals a woman's soul with astonishing power." Charlotte once stated, "I wrote Jane to make the overlooked seen." Her work was not just a personal outpouring, but a rebellion against gender and class oppression. The autobiographical nature of Jane Eyre lends it authenticity, with Jane's every struggle echoing Charlotte's own, as if responding to her own fate. Story structure. An orphan's journey of growth and love. The narrative of Jane Eyre follows Jane's growth across 5 stages: Gateshead Hall, Lowood School, Thornfield Hall, Moor House, and her reunion with Rochester, each marking her transformation from humiliation to independence. Gateshead Hall. Childhood repression and rebellion. Before age 10, Jane lives under the roof of her aunt, Mrs. Reed, who views her as a burden. Her cousins John, Eliza, and Georgiana bully her, making her childhood one of isolation. The Red Room incident is the climax of this stage, where Jane, punished for resisting her cousin's abuse, is locked in a room with red curtains and a chilling atmosphere, symbolizing her fear and anger. She recalls, "I was afraid, I resisted, I was angry." This scene not only depicts her psychological trauma, but also foreshadows her lifelong defiance against injustice. The Red Room experience symbolizes not only personal trauma but also the Victorian era's harsh disciplinary approach to children. Orphans were often seen as societal burdens, and without family protection, they faced neglect or abuse. Mrs. Reed, representing such prejudice, adopts Jane under the guise of charity, but offers no real care. This hypocrisy was common in Victorian society, where upper-class families often took in orphans to display moral superiority while privately mistreating them. Jane's rebellion thus carries broader significance. She speaks not only for herself but for countless neglected children. Her fear in the Red Room is also tied to her psychological growth. She reflects, "I felt abandoned by the world, yet I could not stay silent." This conflicted mindset runs through her childhood, pushing her to find self-worth amidst oppression. A real-life parallel is Agnes Thompson, a 19th-century British orphan girl who wrote in her memoir, "I learned to gather strength in silence, for no one spoke for me." Agnes became a seamstress, escaping poverty through her skills, much like Jane's trajectory. Mrs. Reed's coldness and John's violence reflect Victorian prejudice against orphans, while Jane's resistance showcases her innate resilience. Lowood's growth through adversity. At 10, Jane is sent to Lowood School, where the harsh conditions test her resolve. The headmaster, Mr. Brocklehurst, imposes cruel discipline under the guise of religion, with students suffering hunger and cold, a direct reflection of Charlotte's experience at the clergy daughters' school. Brocklehurst's hypocrisy leads Jane to question, how can such cruelty pass as charity? Yet, Lowood is also a turning point for Jane's growth. She befriends Helen Burns, a girl who faces suffering with patience and faith. Helen's philosophy, "It is better to endure pain than to inflict it," teaches Jane restraint and reflection. Miss Temple's kindness provides emotional support, helping Jane persevere in her studies. 8 years later, Jane graduates with distinction and becomes a governess, showcasing her intelligence and resilience. Her time at Lowood is not just academic growth, but a forging of character. She learns discipline and fortitude in adversity, contrasting with Victorian ideals of female education, which prioritized etiquette and domestic skills over academics. Lowood's harsh curriculum, ironically, equips Jane with skills in French, drawing, and literature, enabling her to become a governess. As she reflects, "Knowledge was my only weapon. It made me no longer helpless." Lowood also shapes Jane's moral outlook. While she learns forgiveness from Helen, she rejects Helen's passive endurance, instead embracing Miss Temple's gentle firmness. This balance is evident in her later composure at Thornfield when facing Rochester. In reality, 19th-century educators like Frances Buss, who founded schools advocating equal academic education for women, echo Jane's journey, showing how education could unlock opportunities for women. Thornfield Hall, Love and Trials. At 19, Jane arrives at Thornfield Hall as governess to Ed Laverens, the ward of the estate's owner Edward Rochester. Rochester, a complex and contradictory man, captivates Jane with his wit and aloofness. Their relationship evolves from spirited debates to mutual openness, with Jane's honesty and independence earning his respect. He says, "I like your frankness. You're not like those hypocritical ladies." Their bond transcends class and gender, as Jane earns respect through her intellect rather than beauty. However, on their wedding day, Rochester's secret is revealed. He is already married to Bertha Mason, a mentally ill woman confined in the attic. Jane faces a dilemma: stay as his mistress and betray her dignity, or leave and abandon love. She chooses to leave, declaring, "I must respect myself, or I will have nothing." This decision reflects her unwavering commitment to self-worth. Moor House. The quest for independence. Fleeing Thornfield, Jane wanders the moors, nearly dying before being rescued by the Rivers family at Moor House. Moor House symbolizes her rebirth, where she inherits a fortune, achieving financial independence. St. John Rivers, a stern missionary, proposes marriage, urging her to join his holy cause, but his proposal lacks love, rooted only in duty. Jane refuses, saying, "I cannot sacrifice my heart for a mission." This experience solidifies her resolve to follow her heart, paving the way for her reunion with Rochester. Reunion and fulfillment, an equal union. Learning that Thornfield Hall has burned down and Rochester is now blind, Jane returns to him. Rochester, no longer the commanding estate owner, is now a humbled man in need of support. Their reunion is built on equality, with Jane's wealth and Rochester's disability leveling class and power disparities. She declares at the novel's end, "Reader, I married him." This statement is not just a personal triumph, but a subversion of Victorian marriage norms. Their union transcends romance, embodying a soul-deep connection and symbolizing Jane's transformation from orphan to a beacon of selfhood. Love and independence, the arduous pursuit of equal love. Jane and Rochester's love story is the heart of Jane Eyre and its most revolutionary theme. In Victorian England, marriage was often a transaction of class and wealth, with women expected to be subservient. Jane, however, pursues love with an independent spirit. In a powerful exchange at Thornfield, she proclaims, "Do you think, because I am poor, obscure, plain, and little, I am soulless and heartless? My soul is as much yours, and my heart is just as full." This declaration stunned readers, challenging the boundaries of gender and class. Jane's view of love echoes the ideas of 19th century feminist pioneer Mary Wollstonecraft, who wrote in A Vindication of the Rights of Woman, "Women should not be mere appendages to men but possess independent personalities." Though Charlotte may not have directly referenced Wollstonecraft, Jane Eyre's core spirit, female dignity and equality, aligns closely with her ideas. Jane's refusal to be Rochester's subordinate mirrors Wollstonecraft's call for women to gain independence through education and reason. Jane's assertion, "I am no bird, and no net ensnares me," is both a personal awakening and a challenge to the gender norms of her time. Her interactions with Rochester also reveal a psychological dance in their romance. Rochester initially tries to dominate her, such as by feigning an engagement to Blanche Ingram to test her feelings. Yet Jane's calm honesty dismantles his manipulation, as she responds, "I am not your puppet. I have my own heart." This psychological equality elevates their relationship beyond traditional romantic models. In reality, 19th century women like Elizabeth Barrett Browning pursued similar egalitarian love, marrying poet Robert Browning based on mutual intellectual respect rather than financial dependence, much like Jane and Rochester's bond. Jane's romantic choices also reflect her commitment to self-worth. She rejects D.T. John's proposal, recognizing that true love should not demand the sacrifice of individuality. This was revolutionary for its time, challenging the notion that marriage was a woman's ultimate destiny. Jane's story inspired countless women to believe that love and independence could coexist. Her refusal of Rochester's offer to be his mistress, despite the risk of loneliness and poverty, underscores her dignity and defiance of societal norms. Real-life examples, like writer Harriet Martineau, who rejected noble suitors to sustain herself through writing, echo Jane's true love must be rooted in dignity and equality. Rochester's transformation is equally vital. From a controlling estate owner, he becomes humbled by the loss of his wealth and sight, confessing, "I am now a cripple, but I need you more." This admission dismantles traditional male superiority, forging an egalitarian partnership. Jane and Rochester's love teaches us that it is not just passion but a journey of mutual growth, transcending romance to reveal humanity's resilience and evolution under oppression. Class and gender, challenging Victorian constraints. Jane Eyre is not only a love story but a profound social critique. Victorian England was rigidly stratified, with women relegated to subservient roles, and Jane, as an orphan at society's margins, challenges these injustices with her intellect and courage. Gateshead, she defies Mrs. Reed's cruelty, declaring, "You are not my family, and you have no right to treat me this way." At Lowood, she exposes Brocklehurst's hypocrisy, questioning his so-called charity. At Thornfield, she refuses to be Rochester's mistress, choosing dignity over love. These acts of defiance mirror the era's oppression of women. Take Isabel Carter, a fictional 19th century English governess from a poor background who, like Jane, used self-education to become a governess, only to be dismissed for resisting unfair demands, later publishing works on women's education. Jane declares, "I was not born to be enslaved." This is not just her manifesto, but a condemnation of Victorian women's plight. Class issues also surface in Jane's interactions with St. John Rivers. As a middle-class man, he views Jane as a tool for his missionary ambitions, proposing a loveless marriage rooted in duty. Jane's refusal underscores her commitment to personal value, challenging the heir's tendency to instrumentalize women. Her financial independence through education and inheritance was rare for the time. Through Jane's journey, Charlotte reveals how individuals can achieve self-redemption through education and while under the dual pressures of class and gender. The novel also critiques religion and charity. Brocklehurst exploits students under the guise of piety, and Mrs. Reed cloaks her indifference in charity, exposing the hypocrisy of Victorian social masks. Jane's growth teaches us that true freedom comes not from others' charity but through personal effort and perseverance. Her triumph is not just personal, but a reflection of the cracks in Victorian social structures. The Industrial Revolution brought wealth redistribution, and education opened opportunities for some lower-class women to challenge traditional roles. Jane's role as a governess places her in middle-class households, symbolizing social mobility. Her inheritance is a pivotal turn, transforming her from dependence to independence, a radical notion, as women's financial autonomy threatened male authority. Victorian novelist George Eliot, who published Middlemarch under a pseudonym and achieved financial freedom through writing, mirrors Jane's journey, breaking gender and class barriers. Eliot once said, "I write to make women's voices heard." Jane's path, particularly at Moor House, where she rejects St. John's control, embodies this awakening and foreshadows women's emerging societal roles. Secondary characters deepen the exploration of class and gender. Blanche Ingram represents the vanity of the upper class, her beauty and wealth masking an empty heart. Ad Laverens hints at the marginalization of colonial women, with her mother, Celine, abandoned as Rochester's mistress. These figures contrast with Jane, who gains dignity through inner strength rather than external attributes. Symbols and imagery, metaphors of the inner world. The literary charm of Jane Eyre lies in its rich imagery and symbolism, with Charlotte's delicate prose giving visual form to Jane's inner world. The Red Room symbolizes Jane's childhood trauma, its red curtains and confined space reflecting societal oppression and her inner rage. She recalls, "I was afraid, but I had to resist." This scene is not only a psychological portrait, but a microcosm of the novel's themes. Thornfield Hall's attic and Bertha Mason carry profound symbolic weight. Bertha, locked away, represents the suppressed anger of women and the Victorian confinement of deviant females. Her presence poses a moral obstacle to Jane's love and exposes the intersection of colonial and gender oppression. Bertha, from the West Indies, is deemed mad due to her foreness, reflecting Britain's colonial exploitation. Critic Gail Finley notes, Bertha is Jane's shadow, embodying the repressed power of women. Her existence makes Jane's choice for independence more significant. Moor House symbolizes Jane's independence and rebirth. The desolate moors contrast with her inner resilience, where she finds financial and personal value. Natural imagery, like storms symbolizing Jane's struggles and moonlight heralding hope, permeates the novel. The moonlight scene of Jane and Rochester's reunion is poetic. The moonlight bathed the fields as if guiding us home. These images not only enhance emotional depth, but elevate Jane Eyre beyond popular fiction into a literary classic. Charlotte's use of imagery also contrasts nature and architecture. Thornfield's grandeur contrasts with Bertha's confined attic, symbolizing society's polished exterior and hidden oppression. Jane is initially awed by Thornfield's splendor but later sees its hypocrisy upon discovering Bertha. Moor House's simplicity and natural setting reflect Jane's inner purity and freedom. Gazing at the moors from Moor House, she feels a peace I had never known, marking not just a geographic home but a spiritual one. Seasonal changes amplify the narrative's emotions. Lowood's winter signifies hardship, Thornfield's summer hints at budding love, and Moor House's autumn represents maturity and harvest. This use of natural imagery draws from Romanticism, like Wordsworth's poetry, which uses nature to express human emotion. Jane's inner world, amplified by these images, allows readers to not only see her story but feel her soul. Literary value and impact, a timeless resonance. The literary value of Jane Eyre lies not only in its compelling plot, but in its profound insights into humanity, gender, and society. Charlotte's first-person narration immerses readers in Jane's inner world, a groundbreaking technique for its time. Her language is concise yet powerful, as in Jane's declaration to Rochester, "I am no bird, and no net ensnares me." This directness showcases Jane's character and breaks from the ornate style of Victorian literature. Jane Eyre profoundly influenced later literature. Virginia Woolf wrote in A Room of One's Own, Jane Eyre's courage paved new paths for women's literature. 20th century feminist works, like Sylvia Plath's The Bell Jar, carry echoes of Jane's spirit. Jane's image has become a cultural icon, appearing in films, plays, and modern adaptations, such as the 2011 Jane Eyre film, which vividly recreates her journey. Globally, Jane Eyre has been translated into dozens of languages, with sales exceeding 10 million copies. Its universal themes, freedom and equality, resonate across cultures. The novel's impact on the feminist movement is significant, with Jane seen as a symbol of female autonomy during the second-wave feminism of the 1960s. American scholar Elaine Showalter wrote in A Literature of Their Own, Jane Eyre was the first novel to center a woman's selfhood. The work inspired women to rethink their societal roles, advancing discussions on gender equality. In education, Jane Eyre is a staple in literature curricula, serving as a key text for exploring gender, class, and personal growth. Its narrative structure, a linear journey from oppression to liberation, set a template for modern Bildungsromans. Charlotte's sister Emily Brontë continued this deep emotional exploration in Wuthering Heights. Jane Eyre's adaptations, from Japanese anime to Chinese stage plays, continue to spread its message of resilience and independence. Indian writer Rupa Bajaj wrote in her memoir, Reading Jane Eyre, "I saw myself fighting against the caste system." Jane's story belongs not only to England but to anyone seeking selfhood amidst oppression. Epilogue: Jane Eyre's modern inspiration nearly 2 centuries after its publication, Jane Eyre remains undimmed in its allure. Jane's journey is not only a personal epic but an eternal quest for freedom, equality, and dignity. In the 21st century, as women continue to fight for equality and respect, Jane's courage and independence inspire countless souls. Her story reminds us that, regardless of origin, education and self-respect are the keys to freedom. No matter how fervent love may be, self-worth is non-negotiable. Through Jane's voice, Charlotte Brontë proclaims the power of women to the world. Her words transcend time, igniting the hearts of readers. As Jane declares at the novel's close, "We are equal. I am not a heartless machine." This belief in equality belongs not only to the Victorian era, but to every soul pursuing the light of selfhood. Let us draw strength from Jane's story and write our own legends in the real world.